into the pipeline of the bridge.
Man, that just happened too.
So that's when the two banks are no longer together. Why would you separate the Federal Reserve from the United States Treasury?
Yeah, hey, that's the next question. Go ahead. Write that down.
The Federal Reserve is a foreign body politic.
Okay.
Doing business in an interim capacity, and they assume the financial responsibilities of the United States Treasury.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
The United States Treasury was held hostage under the Civil War from the North.
Mm-hmm.
The original bank was the Bank of the South. It was the only operational, fully functional bank that was tied to all of the big mama banks all the way to what we call today Oregon and Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. There was no banks in New York, Boston, Baltimore that was tied to the banks, the big mama banks, we call the United States treasures. Mm-hmm. The treasures of the United States, which mm-hmm. takes you to the movie of National Treasure with Nicolas Cage. Right. After he go on the scavenger hunt, then he finds himself in an underground tunnel that goes from New York to Philadelphia to DC, and it's fully loaded with all kinds of treasure. Gold, jewelry, ancient stuff that's covered in dust because Big Mama Bank been locked down.
Right.
Right? Why was Big Mama Bank locked down? We was at war. Big Mama mm-hmm. Bank does not function during war. This is a term that's been classified and appointed to an individual, but it don't have nothing to do with a man witch called a warlock.
Go ahead.
A warlock is Big Mama shutting her bank down during war so that nobody can steal the wealth of the collective.
Uh-huh.
You can only take individual wealth. You cannot steal the wealth of the collective because it's not part of the war. It's not what they call booty or spoils of war.
Right.
Right. So now the current system is collapsing in real time. I was just telling you about the girl. Somebody sent me the video of the little girl who had the baby dolls and books targeting the melanated children, and they just liquidated her bank and never sent them a check because they say her address, they didn't leave their address on file, but their address is the header to the account.
Right.
All right. Now, the reason that is she gonna get all her money back with interest. First of all, I gotta tell y'all that out the gate. Everybody that the system is literally stealing from, if you don't get land back, you will have a proper compensation for the land that was removed from your family. This is why I keep telling everybody to learn family banking. If you don't learn family banking, then you're going to be the last ones in your family or in the families that's collective to get wealth back.
Hey, so Rod,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that brings the next question, because people were asking about reparations and how are we gonna redistribute the wealth under Big Mama's rule? Are we gonna just line up and they hand out money or hand out some certificate and say, oh, here you go, you 100, here you go, you 100. Like how's the transition gonna happen? Because we know, and this are the questions that I got written down. We know that the government is going out of business, and it's a lot of people that depend on the government. It's a lot of people that depend on Social Security, disability, food stamps. You know, just that little extra they get from the government. They've been living on it for a while. Housing support for the people that only paying a certain amount of money. That's the next question. I got a whole bunch of questions dealing in this think tank, but how is the transition going to happen from the government shut down and then the support that we get from the government? Because we know that Donald Trump was in there. He was cutting back on food stamps. He was collecting money from people and shedding people off. So, like, how does that work? That's the first part of the question about the switchover.
Okay, during the transitional period, Everybody that's getting Social Security, they cannot turn it off.
Okay.
Social Security is one of the few things that they can't turn off.
Okay.
Only it won't be nowhere to cash your check. Because all of the regular banks are under the Federal Reserve's jurisdictional authority, and it's lost to the Federal Reserve, to the tribes.
Damn.
Okay, now, for those people who want to know what Big Mama is going to have control of on the turnaround, you have about 25 years of executive orders to read. All of them is on average about a page long. They go all the way back to Bill Clinton in the mid 90s and come all the way up to the last one that was issued by Donald J. Trump. If you go to the national, if you go to the executive order web page of the government, it's a bar across the top that's telling you that page is frozen time. I mean, they can't update it. I mean, the last executive order was the last executive order. If they told you Biden did an executive order, they lying.
Right.
Because he's not the president. Donald J is the wartime president. When he was elected originally, he wasn't elected under the Republic. The Republic was suspended with the 18th president. And then they put in interim presidents all the way up until Donald Trump pulled their card with the white hats. Okay. So what happens now, all of these people then being taken advantage of by a corrupted system, and we've been watching this system a minimum since JFK assassination. Right. This is what activated the white hats to be able to step in because of what was written by the founding fathers, not the ones they telling us about, but the Iroquois Confederacy, which takes us to the Longhouse.
Okay. Yep. The Longhouse.
Under the Longhouse doctrine of the Confederate nations, that they had a certain amount of time to restore the government back, but instead of restoring it, they just kept stepping on us and taking more and stepping on us and taking more until they stretched from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Right now, what we about to see happen is Big Mama Bank, under first thing you're gonna see us season, it's gonna be 3 key banks or businesses that the tribes seized a long time ago, but you haven't heard about it yet. BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard.
Yeah, right. Go ahead. Go break that
right now. Under Vanguard, you have a starving artist program that was founded by Tupac Amaru back in '92 with the financial and military strategic advice of his family. And y'all all know who his family is, Panthers. And they told him how to secure the artist's wealth without having to deal directly with the contracts, right? So what they was doing is an artist was saying, and they'd give him an advance. A percentage of the advance went into what's called the VMix account. The VMix account only trade in very key high return products like white diamonds, right? They won't deal in a lesser diamond than the top-notch, flawless white diamonds. This is to make sure that when the economy fall, they have substance. So all of these artists, Pop Smoke, Young Dolph, what's my man out of Chicago? King Von. Yeah, all of their wealth is secured And because of the way they investments ran, now they worth more than dead celebrity status was when they murdered them or murdered them on record.
Mm.
Many of them elected to go that route because they return would be so much greater in the aftermath of this war that's been taking place right under our noses for the last 6,000 years.
Mm.
Okay, so now everything gonna come when they tell you BlackRock fell, they lying. BlackRock can't fall because BlackRock is not part of the fiat system. But what they can do is they can tell you BlackRock fell under the fiat system, and then BlackRock turn around and rise up. But it's not what we think. It's not who we think. Don't none of the people they tell you run it or own it. Now, that's the same for Vanguard, and that's the same for State Street. And that's why they own each other's stock. That's a business strategy. Now, remember, I'm telling y'all this financial stuff, but this is not my area of specialty. Okay, now, when Big Mama Bank take over, the old system has to collapse.
Okay.
When the old system collapse, it's going to be what's called a grace period where people going to have to pay attention or else they going to lose track of what's going on to get their family's wealth. A lot of us don't want to pay attention.
Okay.
We want to listen to guys like Rod Hayes, like Rashad Jamal, like Young Elder, like Phase One. They like to listen to us go on rants and tirades about being done wrong. It makes them feel good. It's almost like going to church. Where you go and you shout on Sunday to make it tolerable to do another week of slavery as a slave on the plantation called the plant or the workforce.
Damn, you going in. Go ahead.
Right. So now we come full circle. We at the gates of the great hurrah, the last motherfucking collapse. I was watching the retired military general out of Australia. I was trying to find the video because I wanted you to share it with the people. But it's on another app. The one Dr. Kia Pruitt used to be on. I can't even remember the name of it. Might be, is it Discord?
Yeah, I think it's the name of it, Discord.
And maybe they put videos up like YouTube.
Yeah.
Anyway, so whatever it is, but he was going into all of this stuff I'm telling you, I've been saying for the last year and a half. And he said the same thing almost word for word, like he was quoting me. But he's an insider. Right? He's part of the contingent of white hats that's operating in Australia, or what we call the Outback. It's not Australia, it's the Outback. It's the land of the Aboriginals, or the land of the people that was already there. Outback meaning the fields in the 9 city areas, but it's all still part of their territory. They can't take that from them. They blood ties and their ancestral ceremonial burial sites is still there. They tried to exhume our burial sites to move us off the land, but we got too many ancestors and they couldn't dig them up fast enough before the close of the age in the last 500 years to get them all. And all we need is one ancient ancestor still buried. And all you got to do is go to Jackal Island, where we got those 8-foot tall chiefs. It's like 7 of them down there, where they did the Jackal Island conjure to establish the central bank, because they didn't have, they basically used counter conjure to conjure our ancestors for their bidding. The old spirits is fickle. If they own won't call on them, they will answer who will.
Go ahead.
Right? So when they went to them, we hadn't called on them for over 200 years. And now, thanks to Rising Phoenix, thanks to Arisha Stone and several others, Kelly the Love Aquarian, they done went down there and did the family business on the Jekyll Island in the plane in front of everybody, and nobody didn't know what they was doing, but they was calling the ancestral forces, stop supporting the enemy. We need you to get back what's rightfully ours. Right? All of this has been going on in real time. Matter of fact, if you go to my Instagram story, you'll see Phoenix story where she just got done going down there. And the crazy thing is, on the 22nd, I went to Detroit. You know what? September the 22nd is the day that is recorded by the Nation of Islam that Master Fard Muhammad introduced himself to the messenger Elijah Muhammad.
Go ahead. Write that down.
Right. Now, that's the cover story.
Yeah. 1887, right? 76 is what it was.
It was 1930, I think.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the date he was born. My bad.
Yeah, you talking about his birthday.
Yeah, his birthday.
But this the day that he introduced himself to Elijah Muhammad, which is a significant date. And I found myself in Detroit on the 22nd. At the same time, I'm in Detroit having the powwow with some a small family group. Phoenix is in Jackal Island doing family business on behalf of Oye, Yemiya, and Oshun. And so they can dress this monkey up whatever suit they want to put in. They can't stop it from being a monkey, because what's coming, they can't stop. There's too many of us that's aware of the part that we play in the ancestral redemption process. I'm just here to tell you who did the conjure and how do we prove it and how do we get from under it. That's my job. My job is not to deal with the financial aspect. That's why I don't do nothing for money, because the money will confuse you and delude you into thinking that the people that's controlling fiat control money, and all they controlling is a false premise.
Now, he didn't say money, he said the economy. That's what John Rockefeller, what his name is, Rothschild. But that brings the next question I got for you, Rod. Now, people were saying that the tax, and I'm gonna get into we'll get into the tax next, but I want to ask you this question.
Taxes on Big Mama Bank. In Big Mama Bank, there's no such thing as taxes.
Okay. Write that down.
There's no such thing as taxes. Taxes is a usury that was created by Khazarians under the system of Babylonian money magic. Same with fractional reserve banking. All that's Babylonian money magic.
Go ahead. All
that come out of, you can read about it in the Talmud and Mishnah where they telling them to control the Goyi's money.
Yeah.
Controls a means of medium of exchange for goods and services, and they ain't nothing they can do but come to you to do business. So that's one of the things we had to recover, was the whole economic system. We have to put a whole new system in place, and under the old system, our system would be considered fraud. But under our system, their system is considered fraud.
Okay.
Their system is based on fractional reserve banking, where $10 can get you $1,000 without you ever doing nothing but writing it on the paper.
Yeah.
Ours is, if you don't have the money, we can't give you a loan. There's no such thing as credit or taxes under Big Mama Bank. It's what we call cash and carry. You either can afford to live at this level or you can't afford it. There's no longer will you be putting off what you're gonna live your life perpetually in debt, buying things you can't afford, which is called consumerism.
Right.
And if you go listen to them, they always talking about the consumer this, the consumer that. Well, why are they calling you a consumer? What do consumers do? They consume. The consumer, the Jewish term for them is useless eaters.
Okay.
That means that you consuming, but you don't have any intrinsic value of the self. You the same as cattle. That's what the whole term goyim means, chattel. right? So you a chattel human, just like they got cattle. Cattle is the terms of Bovians. Chattel was in reference to packs of humans. And they told you tribes was gangs and that gangs was bad. They never told you that tribe and gang can be used interchangeably. And because we don't do the etymology, we never know that when they're talking about a gang, they're talking about a tribe.
Right. Go ahead.
So now we know what's going on. We know who did it, all that stuff. But here it is. We don't have enough people to hit critical mass because people are inherently naive and believe in the status quo, which has been a fraud the whole time. They believe more in the current uniform system because the uniforms make people look legit.
Right.
That's straight out of the Niccolo Machiavelli, the prince, telling him how to control people with trinkets of worthless metals formed into fancy items in order to give them recognition that makes them feel like they're superior to somebody else. It's trickery.
Right. Next question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just on the same line. So you're gonna keep you going. You're on the same line. So what people asking, and I wrote the questions down. They said, okay, what would happen to the police? Being the police is on this private corporation corps, they got there in the uniform codes and commercial codes and all these codes. What would how would the transition happen with the police going out? Because a lot of them shut down. They ain't saying it. A lot of departments closing down. What would happen with the police department? Will the gangs or something, what would be converted over as
the first thing you're gonna see when the
public service? Okay.
Right. So the first thing you'll see is National Guard taking over.